I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees, February 27th, 2023. Clerk Konecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Silella?
Here.
Trustee Corkery? Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Patrick?
Here.
President Kazone.
Here. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Okay, our first item tonight is a presentation, Elmhurst Hospital's Emergency Medical Services Run of the Month presentation, the Villa Park Fire Department Medic 82. And we'll turn this over to our new Fire Chief, Stapleton.
Thank you. I have another great story to tell you guys tonight about three of our members of the Villa Park Fire Department. Lieutenant Frank Reposh and firefighter paramedics Dave Richardson and Alex Larson. But I'm not going to be the storyteller tonight. Instead, I want to present from Elmhurst Hospital, EMS Coordinator Jay DiGiovanni. If you guys could come on up. Ellen Turnbull, System Director for Emergency Services. And Dr. Wong, the EMS Medical Director for Elmhurst Hospital.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jay DiGiovanni. I'm the EMS Coordinator at Elmhurst Hospital. I'd like to share with you a letter that we had written. This is coming from Dr. Derry, our new CEO at Elmhurst Hospital. Elmhurst Hospital and our community's emergency responders take pride in providing expert teamwork and skill when dealing with challenging emergency situations. Please know that we value and appreciate your partnership, excellent care, and communication. On September 11th, 2022, Villa Park Fire Department Medic 82 responded to the scene of a 37-year-old female complaining of weakness to the left side of her body following a recent ear infection. The patient was assessed by paramedics Alex Larson, Frank Reposh, and David Richardson, and was found to have left-sided hemiplegia, which is weakness to one side of the body. The patient assessment revealed a positive Cincinnati stroke scale. The crew alerted Elmhurst Hospital and activated a stroke alert from the field. Medic 82's on-scene time was only 11 minutes. On arrival at Elmhurst Hospital, the patient presented with an NIH stroke scale of 20, indicating a moderate to severe stroke. 13 minutes after arrival at the hospital, the patient was taken for a CT scan and was found to have a thrombus in the A1 segment of the right anterior cerebral artery, as well as the distal M1 segment of the right middle cerebral artery. The patient received tenecteplase, also known as TPA, which are the clot-busting drugs, 38 minutes after arrival to the emergency department, and was transferred to another facility at Edwards for continued stroke care approximately 65 minutes after arrival at Elmhurst. The patient was discharged 2 days later with no outstanding neurological deficits. We want to acknowledge the fantastic care for this patient provided by the crew of Medic 82. It is not common to see such a young patient present with such profound symptoms. The crew did an amazing job of thoroughly assessing the patient, identifying the signs of stroke, expediting their time in the field, and quickly transporting the patient to Elmhurst Hospital, where she received the definitive stroke care that allowed for her quick recovery. As a result, the crew of Villa Park Fire Department Medic 82 has been recognized as Elmhurst Hospital EMS Run of the Month for September of 2022. We applaud you for your ability to handle this very challenging situation and deliver the best possible care to the citizens of Elmhurst Hospital service area. The event today is just a small way of showing our gratitude and appreciation for the care you provide, not just in this case, but on a daily basis for all patients. So with that, we'd like to bring up Dave, Frank, and Alex. And Dr. Wong, I'd like to present you with a certificate. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Okay.
And then we want to shift a little bit to the middle.
Okay, up.
Go ahead. Here you go, guys.
Before everyone is gone, I just wanted to thank Elmhurst for indulging us. They did this ceremony at the station already, but I think it's important for Villa Park to see these things and to recognize our staff when they do some of the incredible things they do on a regular basis. So I appreciate you guys coming back and doing that again. So thank you, Elmhurst Hospital.
Okay, item 3B on our agenda tonight is Total Parking Solutions Metra Virtual Payment Overview.
And we have, make sure you spell it, no, that, actually, if you want to show them if there's anything you can show them online, it will show up over here. I don't. Oh, okay. All right, then you can stand up there. I wish, that's stupid. I wish I had, anyway, that's okay. So Vic Senfer is here from,
Yeah, so my name is Vic Sefner. I am the General Manager of Total Parking Solutions. We've been in operation since 2005. We have provided about 80% of the metro stations with machines and services like that for payment. We have been working with Villa Park for about 6 years now, working with them on their mobile solution for the payment at the metro station and the kiosk that is there. So what we are proposing to the village, and I gave out some flyers, is a permitting solution. The permitting solution is just a simple, allows people to go online, using your website, and it'll be redirected to a, permitting solution that will allow them to buy a permit, a 30-day permit, that they can do auto renew, and they have the control of their own license plates to change their plates, anything like that. So when they, have to use another vehicle or anything like that, they have the control to change their vehicle, to do that. They have the responsibility. Instead of, burdening village staff or anything like that, this is all in their control. It ties into our kiosk, the same as, the mobile payment and everything else, and enforcement is done the exact same way. So,
and so the same company, they are our connection with Passport, and we get a better rate because we're working with TPS. Also, again, they sold us the kiosk and do maintenance on the kiosk for a contract. This will allow all of the enforcement to take place by the license plate reader
Yes.
system.
Yeah, so this ties into our system you guys are currently operating with the kiosk and the mobile pay system out there. It just ties in like another virtual terminal, but allows the user to make all those arrangements and stuff like that to not burden the village. We have this system running in at least five other villages in the area, and it has been very successful. It is new, and it's only been in operation with Flowbird for the past 5 years, and we're just now presenting it to villages in the area because we wanted to fully test it and make sure it's operational and correct, and work out any bugs that were there before we started presenting it to villages and stuff like that, and make sure that there's no issues going on.
Okay, thank you. Will there be a
questions?
lot of signage out with the, giving where to call or get on whatever site, or are they just going to have to go to our website to do that?
Well, it's all based through your website. So it's all linked through your website. So most villages for permitting do not put out signage unless they designate a specific parking area. So our experience in the past is all permitting is always done through a village website. So they log in, they or go into link onto the village website, look up parking, and then it will from there direct them to that site to sign up.
We are going to try and do some signage on site because of our experiences and to try and make it clear. The advantage to doing this is there won't be any, like the red stickers that we used to have you put in the corner of the window. That's a separate system of enforcement. This is all by the license plate reader, and the ordinance that is before you tonight for first reading does not go in effect as written until May 1st. So we will have some time to do education and and maybe work with Vic to get some screenshots of what the.
Yeah, so we will provide, for your website and stuff like that, of a user's guide. And by user's guide, I mean the end user's guide, not for the village. We provide you guys, training on our side, but we provide users guides to allow, a simple, quick guide to show them how to change their plate, to how to sign up for an account, to how to go through the whole process all the way through. So we have different users guides that we will present to you, and we will customize it with your logo and everything like that. That way it's easy for the user to go through if they have any questions, and we are here to support it just like the kiosk and everything else 100%.
Good.
So.
Thanks. All right. Trustee Kumar.
A couple of questions. So now we have a 30-day permitting system, which we used to have previously. I used to have those stickers on my car at one point, but then it fell through, and there was a lot of discussion at coffee with the board. But this will solve this problem, because a lot of people, their complaint, at least at coffee with the board, was that when they're doing the mobile pay, sometimes it's not going through and they have to get on the train.
Yeah, well, the mobile pay, they can do on the train, stuff like that. The kiosk has to be done there if people line up, stuff like that. So yes, it does eliminate those issues and allows the village to not have the expense of doing the stickers or hang tags, because those actually add up to be very expensive over a year's time. And this system, if they choose, they can do for auto renew, so they can just set it up, do it, and it automatically just goes through. It emails them, when it expires, when they renew, everything.
Trustee Corcoran.
I don't think I'm understanding how the license plate reader system works. Is it like
So-
a scanner or?
Yeah, so right now, the village has a license plate reader on a squad car, and so during the enforcement, they drive through the lot, and it'll pick up paid or not paid vehicles.
Right.
So as they go through, it'll alert them to a vehicle that is not paid, and they can write a ticket for it. So what this does is when the person enters their license plate in, then it integrates with their LPR reader.
So all this is really changing is just how people pay for permits?
It allows them the permit option.
Okay.
And the permit option is license plate based versus hang tag or anything like that.
Sure.
So it just makes it easier, and it doesn't segregate them from parking in different, like normal permits, years ago when you had the hang tags, you had to park in this area only. This allows you not to have that signage, not, any of that stuff, clutter in the lot, and everybody can park anywhere they want as long as they've made their payment via the, permit, the mobile pay, or the kiosk.
And the village is still responsible for ticketing and collecting fees and all that?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. You got it?
That's all. Okay.
Trustee Kozar.
What's the cost of this for our village?
So it costs $1 per permit per month is what we charge. okay? And the idea is that we're going to pass that on to the user. So that convenience fee is what it's, ultimately considered, will be passed on to the person purchasing the permit.
And then I think you said that we bought the kiosk? Is that
Yes,
What
yeah.
was the cost for the kiosk?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, so the kiosk you've been through 2 different kiosks, because the original kiosk that you guys bought was a refurbished one that we did, and it could not do license plate. So about 4 years ago, it was during COVID, that you guys we had replaced the kiosk with another refurbished one, with the current one you guys have that allows for the license plate input and stuff like that. So, and it is the latest and greatest. We don't have any other upgrades from there.
Well, we're not sure what the cost of that was.
we
I'll
ballpark find it, it's about $6,000 originally, I think.
That sounds about right.
And
Yeah.
then there's an annual fee of.
Yeah, because a brand new kiosk is about 11,500. With bills. So this one is a refurbished unit, which what that means is the cabin itself is not brand new. It's been repainted. Other than that, the electronics inside are brand new. But the cabinet's being stainless steel. It's a great option because it's a refurbished. It doesn't, it's a cheaper cost. So that sounds about right, for a refurbished unit.
So this whole process is a good example. We had a individual come to coffee with the board. We had some discussion about it, and then it went back to the manager's office and having the village jump on it and now put something in place. It took a couple of months to do, but I'm pleased to see that our residents were heard and we have something now in place for
Yeah,
us.
and I'm glad we could help with a nice, easy solution for you guys. It's a seamless process. It's, it makes it just simple and easy. And, I will stress that it's a 30-day permit, not a monthly permit. And the reason why I say that is a 30-day permit versus a calendar month, because a lot of people, when they buy a permit, don't choose their start date. So they mess that up and then everything's got to be changed. It's easier and it flows better. It benefits them and the village if they do it as a 30-day permit. So that way every 30 days, so they could somebody starts in the middle of the month, something like that, it flows better with them.
Well, I'm glad to see it all come together, so thank you.
Do they have, does this system, that's also working for the daily too, daily permits?
No, that's where they would use the
They have to
kiosk
use the
or
kiosk.
the mobile pay.
Okay.
Yeah, permitting is anything over a week's time is what we would bump to a permit because that's more,
Okay.
something like that. Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
I have, since it's 30 days, and like a person like me who pays bills on the first of the month, that 30 days can be a problem some of the months. So is there an automatic paying system?
Yeah.
Involved
Yeah,
with
so
that?
when you sign up for your permit, and in the instructions we'll have that, there's a little button after you put in your license plate, right under it, you're gonna choose if you want auto renew. And then it just automatically charges your account every month.
You sent me this, I still can't find the email with the cost, but I will find that number.
Okay, sorry.
Any other questions? Trustee Corcoran?
Will this totally replace the old permitting system, or will this just be another option for people?
You guys yeah, it's gonna replace any hang tags, anything like that, so this will be, everything is gonna be digital. So the village, everything with the village now is gonna be digital permitting, digital payments at the machine, everything like that.
If I could, President Kazone, and you explained this also, but the kiosk will not change.
No.
And so that's part of the system. It's part of our interaction with TPS, but it's a separate system. But the passport option will still be there. It will be, the only thing we want to do, right now, we only allow you to do 1 day at a time with the passport system. It is capable of, and our plan is to make it so you could do a 5-day permit on passport by the app. The app, my understanding is, charges 37 cents per transaction. So if you're going to be there, if you're visiting and you want several days in a row to use that's one way you could do it. The other thing, and I think Vic mentioned this, but if you have two or three cars, or you have a car and it's in for repairs and using your partner's car, or you have a loaner, you can put that license plate in for that period of time in your monthly plate, and so it will pick up your new plate on your existing 30-day permit. So you.
Yeah, so the LPR reader, it pulls from the system every minute or whatever. Every morning it starts pulling from the system. So when they make that change, it's instantaneous with the system. So as they go through the lot, once they activate that system, and turn it on, it'll start pulling repeatedly from the Flowbird system, which is pulling new plates, anything like that. So it's going to show that this is the plate. That other plate, it won't show in the system.
But if you want to pay by cash at the system, it's still there. And we're still only going to allow one day at a time so that we don't get a lineup of people trying to figure out the more complicated directions. It's one, if you go to the kiosk, you pay $2 and then you get your ticket and you get on the train. So.
Yeah, the kiosk is set, so it's 23 seconds it takes somebody to run a transaction at the machine.
That was his suggestion.
Trustee Corker.
Would it be possible then for people, for buying multiple days at a time, or if you have a pass to leave your car there overnight, say if you want to spend the night in the city and then come back, is that not allowed?
The overnight, we've worked with that with the police, usually just if you let the police know. That's how we've done that in the past. That's how we intended to do it. I don't think there's nothing in this code that says you can't. I have to double check, but yes, we will allow you to park overnight because there is a code that you can't usually typically park in overnight in city lots or on city property, but this is a separate lot with separate, the different part of the code. That won't be a problem if you work with the police department. So.
Trustee Kumar.
So we have this 30-day permit. I think ideally it's going to be ideal also for the queue because many people don't have that option right now and they're probably standing at the kiosk on a daily basis. So it's going to cut down the traffic there probably as well as on the iMobile Pay. Well, they're probably doing more mobile pay, but at that point as well.
Yeah, it definitely gives another option. It makes it easier for people.
Okay. Okay.
Other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, great.
Okay,
All right,
thank
thanks,
you.
Vic. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll go with item number 4, public comments on agenda items. Clerk Konecki, anyone signed up?
Yes, Anne Marie regarding item 8A.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie, and I live in Villa Park, and I'm back about the new contract with Lakeshore Recycling. And mostly tonight, I just wanted to talk about the website, the village website, and the pages that it has and has had for years about garbage and recycling, and how poorly maintained they've been over the years. So like when we first got Roy Strom, okay, there was a bunch of new information, it was all great, but that was many years ago. And so I frequently see residents on social media asking each other questions because they can't find information, or it doesn't occur to them to go to the website because they've looked before and didn't find it then. I personally know that, right now, the hazardous waste stock that's posted there doesn't even mention the cooking oil recycling program that was set up at Salt Creek Sanitary District, which was actually, I believe, spearheaded and created by our own Environmental Concerns Commission. So, and that's been several years ago. So that's kind of a big miss. Last fall, people were throwing their pumpkins in their yard waste bags because it seemed like a good idea to them. And it doesn't say on the website that you can't. So I contacted the village and they said, no, you can't. But, people are making up their own rules. Nature abhors a void. So I guess, in a more positive tone, I'm going to say that I look forward to a new website page with accurate, current, detailed information, and that it continues to get updated. I mean, this new program seems like it's going to be pretty, not a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about it, but, things need to be updated as the situation on the ground changes. I also had Simple Recycling. That program's currently missing from the website page, and I had them come pick something up at my house on Friday because I happened to know I could go directly to their site and pick, sign up for a pickup, but it isn't there anymore. So the sooner the better. I think that an FAQ document just about this new program might be helpful. It's not like people aren't trying to offer me customer service when I raise a question, but I'm not necessarily just raising because I have all these garbage problems. I really want to ask the questions on behalf of other people. And the most efficient way, rather than offering all this one-on-one support, is to just get the information out there, get it out to everybody in a clear, clean, manner.
30 seconds.
And I wanted to mention, I'm confused about what will happen in the future with cardboard boxes and getting them in my covered container, and the sharing economy, when people put something out on the curb and they don't want it in a box, they want somebody to take it for free, but then if that doesn't get taken, do they have to come bring it back inside and try and stuff it in a container with a lid? And that's good enough. Thanks.
Okay. All right, thanks, Anne Marie. Okay. Anyone else with
I have
public
no
comments?
notes.
Okay. Item 5, amendments to the agenda. Anyone have any amendments? Seeing none. Item 6, the consent agenda. Item 6A, minutes from February 13th, 2023, regular meeting of the village board, and minutes from the February 13th, 2023, committee of the whole meeting. And item 6B, bill listing for the weeks of February 13th and 21st, 2023, in the total amount of $1,758,427.33. And do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, do we have a second? Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I'll second that, thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments? Clerk Kornecki, please.
Yes, Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar? Yes. Trustee Salela?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, move to item 7A. It's first reading of an ordinance to be codified. It's an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending Chapter 14 of the Village of Villa Park Municipal Code regarding Metro commuter station parking fees. Manager Harline.
This excuse me. This ordinance would remove and replace sections 14 14-215 and 14-216 of the Villa Park Municipal Code to establish two rates for parking in the village-owned lots north and south of the Union Pacific Railroad at the Villa Park Metro Station. Daily fees would be $2 per day, and fees for 30-day consecutive periods or monthly fees would be $35 per month. Customers would be responsible for paying any convenience fees. Staff recommends passage of the ordinance. I would, if I could, President Kazone, two other things I'd say is, this ordinance is drafted to go into effect May 1st, so I would not only staff would be happy for a second reading, because the more times we talk about it, the better chance somebody hears about it. One other piece of information I want to share with you guys before we open up discussion. So I asked Dan McCann to do a couple of really quick, get some data on permits. And this is just January and February of 2023 and January and February of 2019. We had 2780 and 2450, 2,780 permits sold in January of this year. So far, 2,452 permits sold in February. Of those, in the year 2023, 88% of the people are paying by some form of mobile payment. If you go back to 2019, the numbers of total permits are much higher, but about 4,809 in January, and I'll send this chart out to you guys, and then 4,412 permits in February of 2019. At that point, we had somewhere between 75 and 77% of people paying by remotely. So I think most people are adapting to electronic format, but there are still a significant number of people who do not. And we will continue to offer, especially at the kiosk, you can pay by cash, by credit card, or even coins. So those options will still be available. And that's all I had, so.
Okay. Okay, any questions or comments on the ordinance as written? Trustee Murphy?
I would just like to make a comment that I would be in favor of letting it go to a second reading, primarily because we have a coffee with the board coming up, and it has been a topic at that venue before.
I agree. Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to resolutions. Item 8A is a resolution approving a waste collection agreement with Lakeshore Recycling Systems LLC commencing July 1st, 2023. Major Harline.
The current contract for garbage, brush, landscape waste, and recyclable material collection service expires on June 30th, 2023. This resolution would approve an agreement between the Village of Villa Park and Lakeshore Recycling LLC for a 5-year period beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2028, and provides rates for services during that period. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. And we do have two representatives from Lakeshore here if you have any questions. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Solala? Okay, we'll open up for any questions or comments. Trustee Kumar?
I have a lot of questions and comments. First of all, I was reading over the question about cardboard boxes. That's something a lot of us are getting tons of Amazon packages. And so there is a lot of cardboard that comes to our house on a daily basis, which previously did not come. So what are our options because what I used to do is put all my cardboard in one big cardboard box and put it out. It looks like it all has to go in the bin now. And what are our options?
Kate, would you mind just stating your name for the record, please?
Katie Neary with LRS. Thank you. Hello, everyone again. Thank you for asking that. That's a great question. So you can keep doing the same thing, basically. I mean, we would prefer that you break down the boxes, as I'm sure you were, and you were putting them in one box. I mean, if they can't fit in your cart, then they can't fit in your cart. So, I mean, then you could just keep them out. Some of them will. We don't want them jammed in there, because then things get stuck in there.
That's the problem with the recycling bin, which you usually put them. If I put the boxes in there, nothing else comes out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can consolidate all cardboard
we
boxes
understand
into
cardboard.
one big box.
And we want the cardboard. We want to recycle the cardboard, so yes.
Yeah, okay. That's question number one. Question two has to do with this contract. It says here that contractor will provide a 65-gallon cart for solid waste in place of a 95-gallon cart. So we had a 95-gallon.
It's only if you want that. So like Anne Marie, who was just here, she had expressed to me, she's like, that's, for her, that was way too big. So for someone like Anne Marie, she can choose the smaller size.
Oh, so you're willing to give us, okay, so now the cart is 95 gallons. The 95-gallon cart is for both the recycling and
garbage. Just garbage, and then a 65 or 64 for recycling.
Yes. Okay. That was my first question. So, because it's not clear.
And they are over here, by the way.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so yes.
Yeah. So, that being said, now, for access, you're using residential owned garbage cans for access. Of course, damage is probably going to happen given what I've experienced thus far. Okay, because they're not the same quality, certainly.
Can I comment on that really quick?
Yes.
So thank you again I love all your comments, by the way. So my feeling is that we're not going to be going house to house to house with the driver having to get out now every single home and go physically take a container for both garbage and recycle, and maybe multiple containers. So now the majority of Villa Park will be serviced, with the automated cart lift. So to get out and actually pick up a container that might be yours instead of using the cart lift, I think is much more realistic, because he's going to be more efficient as well, safer. So it's not going to be as as, you know, going house to house to house, like I said, where he's going to have to get out every single home and do this in his bucket that's in the front of his truck. He'll just do it on the ones that actually need it, you know, or you can lease a cart if you, I know you're opposed to that personally, you know, from our last conversation,
No, I'm
kind of.
not. I just,
Sort of,
I-
you just,
I'm not actually opposed to it. I actually probably will lease an extra
okay.
car.
And
But
then,
I just
yeah,
wanted
for
to
those
know.
that, for those that don't, you know, I feel that
I think
actually
it's
they'll get
pretty
out.
large
It
anyway.
is, you could fit inside of it, right? You know? And so they're nice. I mean, you know, you don't
They're
have to
big
take them
and
out every
nice.
week.
Yeah, that's, sure. Now, there is also the recycling of the carts we have. Now, here you've written that we can make a special request, but initially, probably there's going to be a lot of this
Yes.
recycling. How are
So
you
we're
going to address that?
and, you know, so we're going to establish an entire process for this. We're going to meet with, we have been already meeting with Matt and Michael just to kind of briefly start to talk about a potential transition. So when we communicate with all the residents and we put that out in a brochure and various communications, we'll make sure that we cover, like, these first couple weeks. If you don't want the container, just put tape a sign to it, please take, please recycle, and we'll take it and recycle. And then, you know, we're going to be out there every week. Our recycle truck is out there every week, so they don't get it out right away. You know, we can always take it anytime as a bulk item, even in the future as well, so.
Okay. I am happy to see that you will be accommodating, for instance, storm, if there's a storm or some kind of special situation, that you will do a special garbage pickup for that purpose. That's something nice to see. Reporting, that's my next comment, because I did kind of go through this a little bit in detail. The reporting, I see that there is reporting in waste collected. I would like to see reporting in complaints collected as well. That's not as part of this contract.
It is, actually, that will be part of the metrics, and we haven't exactly established them entirely, but believe me when I tell you, that's we can be very transparent with all of that, and, you know, it'll be more regular than it is now as well. I think we've kind of established that as well, so I think it'll be you'll have everything.
That's, and the last thing, actually, this past week, I was happy to see that they are putting the garbage cans off the driveway. But unfortunately, they did not collect the garbage out of one can in my case, and I called, and they didn't come back in 24 hours.
Oh, you're
So,
kidding.
yeah, but as that would be happening to me, it could happen to others. So what is there an email kind of, you know, calling and sitting on the phone? Is there some, you know, more amenable way of getting back and forth?
Actually, I love the email for Lakeshore is probably the most effective way, and I would recommend that always, is service@lrsrecycles.com. And I apologize that your garbage has not been serviced yet. So did they leave some in there, like they didn't
They
empty it all
didn't
the way?
fully clear it, and then I called them back, and they said they'd be there within 24 hours, but did not come. So I left it out, it was out till Sunday, which is my garbage day. So,
So Friday is your pickup day, or?
my pickup day is Monday.
Oh, and you left it out until Friday?
Well, I brought it back in and
I
I
see,
put it
okay,
back out.
okay.
Yeah, I left it out till Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, because I gave them more than 24 hours.
I'm
so.
sorry, you know.
So, it is also, I mean, sometimes we have a lot of garbage, whatever. That is a personal experience. But the thing is, I'm worried for the people of Villa Park in general. So they should not face this or have a way of, you know, not dealing with it. They were very polite. It was easy to get through to them. I have to say that in a positive note. And they did promise to get it. They simply didn't. And I think there is a randomness between quality of garbage pickup on sides of Villa Park, because some people are super happy from having talked to people, and then others are not. So
Do you have a side? I'm just curious. Like,
yeah,
do you-
I think on the south side recently, there's been a lot of problems, only maybe because those are wider lots larger driving, and maybe, I do not know if they cover more houses there than on the other side. So it may be a technical concern. Maybe you need an extra coverage or something like that.
I'm very confident, once this all starts to transition, a lot of these problems are just going to disappear. I'm, just from having doing this like 30 times now.
Yeah,
the past
I
5
know,
years.
I understand.
So,
I'm not against it.
no, and I appreciate every point you've brought up because it's been very good. So I appreciate it genuinely. So, thank you. Any other questions?
Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. We do have a couple of examples of the different size containers here. I was wondering if the village might be able to keep these in a publicly accessible area until we roll out the program, so that way residents could come and see for themselves which size they would prefer to use.
Manager Highland's office is fine.
Yeah.
I think the plan was to leave it, at least, I know that Al Stash from the currently named Cable TV Commission wanted to borrow them for some video work, so I don't know how long.
We are
they're in-
fine. I mean, you can keep them, and as long, we usually leave them out until like 60 days after the transition, because residents may want to drive by and see them, and
That was my impression, but I didn't want to promise that they.
you can promise it.
Okay.
We do it for every
Have them-
community, so, and you can put them wherever you want. I mean, if they disappear, we'll bring a new pair, you know. so.
You got the serial number, so you know that.
That's
where you
true,
left
we
them,
know.
so
Let's see, take a picture of those, right?
I'll try and make sure we get them back to you eventually.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I just want to share some resident feedback that I received as recently as today. From my perspective, having been involved in the last several meetings that you've participated in, we've talked about all of these issues in the past, but in the event that some of the people missed some of the information, I want to make sure that their voices are heard as well. We've talked about the process, and I think for the most part, most of us, if not all of us, are in agreement that we feel confident that with the new process, once it's transitioned, it's going to resolve many of these problems. In the meantime, we really are getting a very significant number of responses from residents on social media who are still extraordinarily unhappy. So I just want to make sure that their opinions are voiced before we vote on this, and that they know that we are hearing what they're saying. We're getting a lot of feedback on broken cans. I still believe, as mine was broken as well, that it's a function that most of them are round, and the truck does not accommodate the pickup of these round cans as well. But they seem to not be having positive experiences in an effort to get these cans replaced. They're still suggesting there's a lot of cans that are being left in the driveways, and on a lesser note, some garbage is still left in the street. Those are the only 3 complaints, not that they're insignificant, that I've been hearing, but they've been relatively consistent, and a large number of them, and I don't feel like it's gotten better since we've first started discussing those circumstances. With respect to the contract, the feedback that I'm getting, and I know at least 2 of these we've talked about, they would like to ensure that there's a contract cancellation clause, that there are measurement performance processes and timelines associated with them, and also something from a village perspective to ensure that there's budgeting set aside for the RFP process in the next couple of years when we start to look at the next contract.
If I may, so in terms of budgeting for an RFP process, the contract's 5 years, probably somewhere in the, so this is 23, or 5, so after 2 years of the contract, after 3 years of the contract, we'll start putting an RFP together. My goal would be to have it out somewhere around 18 months ahead of time with a final decision 6 months ahead, because for the ramp up for if the next contract holder is not LRS, they'll need a ramp up time to be able to get trucks and equipment in, and LRS will want to remove their carts, and the new company will want to, assuming that it's a cart-based program, which almost all are now. So that would be the timeline to do something like that. So, and as far as, so one of the reasons why, one of the few changes that Mike and I asked to put in this contract was to have a quarterly review the first year, and one of the things is to go over those those service issues, because there has been an uptick in complaints. There may have been, I don't know if that's perception, if some of that's bandwagon because they see there's been a bunch on Facebook and that sort of thing. It is certainly not LRS's strategy to reduce the level of service just before the contract starts. That does not serve their purpose at all. So I've talked to Katie about this, and because you've talked to me about these comments, I've seen them online. Cheryl's taken the phone calls. There have been some phone calls that were oddly specific and the same on the same day. So I don't know if there's somebody who really doesn't want this contract to go through, but that's probably just my paranoia. But there really is, I certainly want this to work well. They want this to work well, so we're going to make some extra efforts. The other thing is, and Katie could probably explain this better than I think it'd be useful, and I was telling her, let's find some of those cases where, they're not perfect. They miss stuff. They have video evidence of every single pickup. They know when the cart was there. They know when they tipped your machine, when they tipped your cart, they can tell the stuff came out. But you can also, that doesn't mean it all came out. So we can look and see when there were things that were, when things went amiss. They've got a camera in front. They got a camera on the driver that shows when he gets out of the car. I've seen some of these videos. So, I think one of the things I made clear to her is that we needed to show the things where there's a mistake and what we did to fix it. And I think that will help with some of the issues we've been having. And we have broken carts. I mean, they have broken carts, and they do break more in the winter. And I don't know about this, but I think you've been using more of the automated truck in Villa Park recently.
Yes, and something I've just started talking to everyone about, because I've seen some of these as well, and thank you, I understand, and we totally want to change that, and I believe that we will, and you'll see it change, and I understand that, there's been some more complaints that have come in, and so, as I said, of course, when we get the new carts, that's fine. But in the interim, it's important, and I hear what you're saying. I hear what the residents are saying, and I'm telling you today, right before all of you, that I am committed to making sure we take very good care of residents, the carts that are out there now, and making sure we put them in the right place and everything else. So hopefully that will start to show right away. As far as some of these other, miscellaneous complaints that have come in, I hope that they'll feel satisfied as well. Some people also really just don't like the idea of change, or, and they're like, I don't want this. And so, but carts do break. I know that they break, or containers break, and, using the front load the arm, it can break them for sure if they're being a little too rough with them. So, but again, hopefully that'll just be a thing of the past here shortly in a couple months. And in the interim, like I said, we'll do our best. We really will. You're welcome.
Okay. Just goes there.
It's easy to hear about the complaints, and I understand that, and they're valid, they're good, but I'm just giving another shout out to our guy, Rolando, who does a good job on our whole block.
I love Rolando.
So,
thank you so much.
You get a few complaints, at least, you got somebody there on your team that does a good job.
Thank you.
Maybe promote him up to training.
I know. Well, and I did
Other
pass
people.
that along, and, Rolando is great. We know he's really great, In fact, I think when we were driving out there, we ran into Rolando.
I met him one of the first days I was here,
Yeah.
because I'm a nerd like that, and so I was talking to him about it. So,
And he's the one who taught me about, what are the issues out here? He's like, well, you can't tell what's in what, but he cares so much, and he gets out every house, and it's a lot of work. The old school garbage drivers would be like, whatever, but nowadays, it's not the norm that guys are getting out every single home like we are. So, but thank you so much, by the way. We need that, so appreciate that very much.
I also watched him heft a mattress in a couple houses down, and I was like, wow, that's
They have to bare handle and stuff, yeah.
nothing.
Okay, any other comments? Trustee Kumar.
I have my, pretty much my last question is on rate structure, because, and it seems pretty okay, but it is increasing, but doesn't seem to be increasing by too much over these 5 years. But I see a more a significant increase over the years, kind of at the end on brush collection?
Let me get that open.
It's in the second table.
I think we use the same percentage, if I recall. So it just might be like as building, yeah.
It's just, okay.
It looks, it probably is more because of that.
Yeah, no. So, and what percentage did you guys use for
I
that?
don't recall off the top of my head, honestly.
Okay,
I
okay.
know it's under 5%.
Okay, under 5% a year. No, just checking what the rate changes are. It's more for knowledge than anything else. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, Clerk Kornecki, call the roll.
Okay, trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Salella,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Murphy. Yes. President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 8B is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving change order number 1 to the contract with Benchmark Construction, Inc. of Bartlett, Illinois, for construction of the Washington Street Sewer Separation Phase 1 project, also known as the Monterey Avenue Improvement Project, Washington to Park, for net addition in the amount of $586,324.79. Manager Harline.
Village has a contract with Benchmark Construction, Inc. of Bartlett, Illinois, in the amount of $4,448,000 for the construction of the Washington Street Sewer Separation Phase 1 project, AKA the Monterey Avenue Improvement Project, which runs from Washington to Park. Proposed change order number 1 consists primarily of the addition of a sanitary sewer main lining work, which was determined necessary during construction due to the condition of the existing clay tile sanitary sewer. Staff has determined that the lining that exists, the combination sewer would be the most, that lining the combination sewer would be the most cost-effective solution to allow the construction to continue. Change order number 1 also includes the balancing of some pay items and quantities as measured in the field to date, along with sidewalk replacement due to favorable prices. The net amount of proposed change order number 1 is an addition in the amount of $586,324.79 for an adjusted contract amount of $5,034,324.79. Staff recommends approval of this change order, and Public Works Director Michael Guerra is here to explain this. It is not a small amount. We're aware of that. Anyway, with that, I'll
Okay, thank you.
yield back.
Okay, so we have a motion for the resolution. Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Salella. Okay, questions? Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. Being that you did mention that it is not, well, it's not a small amount.
Not a small.
Would the village be able to explain to some of the residents that don't understand necessarily what this project entails, what it does, and why it's important to the village?
Okay, Director Guerra.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Yes, to answer that, so sewer lining is in a relative term of the public work infrastructure. It's kind of a newer technology in the sense it's been around a little bit less than 50 years now, where we actually pretty much inflate a lining consisting of felt material, different materials, and epoxy coatings, and then we essentially bake it inside the pipe, essentially creating a plastic pipe inside the existing pipe. In this scenario, a lot of these projects were put together during the referendum and utility tax timeframe. Some of these underground infrastructure improvements, such as the lining, was not always included in that cost. And that's what occurred in this situation. Unfortunately, this is a clay tile sewer. I think it's been around probably since the beginning, towards the beginning of town, so probably the 1920s. So the staff reevaluated some different options. As we started construction, started removing some of the pavement, trenching along the side for the new pipe. We found the exterior of the pipe was in a lot worse condition than what we could tell on the interior of the pipe. So the couple options we have in this scenario would be to remove that existing pipe, put new pipe in. However, this is the very first phase of a multi-phase project for Washington Sewer Separation. So we do need to keep that large diameter pipe so that we don't affect residents downstream, or upstream, I should say. And cost of piping is still very high, especially for PVC piping.
So we looked at this option, which would line, it would be done in conjunction, which would not alter any of the construction timeframe of Monterey Improvement. They can get this done, and it's the least intrusive. By us being able to put the sewer lining piping in, it will take probably a day or so to what we call bake, cure that pipe liner in place. And then after that time, they go back and cut open the openings to the laterals. You're now without service for a few hours during the day, but they can come back in. We're not tearing out, digging, putting in new pipe, and taking several weeks. This whole process will be done within a week, if not less.
Could you, generally speaking, could you just give our residents, why is it important, just generally speaking, about sewer separation? Why is that important to the Village of Villa Park?
So sewer separation is important for twofold. A lot of the residents that are back in those combination basins, which I think we've talked previously, we're probably nearing 90%, especially with this project of being separated, is we're actually separating the stormwater that goes down your catch base, the catch basins, the street inlets, goes into the drain. Under the combination scenario, that sewer is carrying both your wastewater from your house, so the water from your toilets, your showers, your baths, your washing machines, and now we're introducing stormwater from the catch basins and the inlets into the road, and they're using the same pipe. So during heavy rains like we experienced this morning, those pipes fill up quickly with stormwater, which then can cause backups into homes, along with intermingling. Historically, in our scenario, it goes down. During heavy rains, we discharge into Salt Creek. Now we're inducing untreated sanitary water into the Salt Creek in freshwater locations versus just keeping it as stormwater discharging into those creeks. And so the separation is very important so that we separate those two waters. Essentially, your clean surface water coming from rain versus household wastewater and commercial water coming from homes, so that the wastewater can be treated properly through the Salt Creek Sanitary District and discharged as cleaner water out into the creek, and keeping the stormwater separated so that we can do that. Additionally, this is all part of the EPA's Clean Water Act that was mandated in the late 80s. I think 1985 started the Clean Water Act, and then there's some amendments further down the line. I think the 94 was where they started mandating that you look at ways to reduce the amount of times you discharge into fresh water without any treatment, being whether through our CSO plant where we treat some of that water with chlorine and stuff to disinfect, or through the actual treatment process.
Thank you.
Trustee Solano.
I gather from some of your conversation that you televise the sewer line prior to construction?
My understanding is yes, we televised it while we knew it was probably a fragile sewer being of this age. There's two scenarios that played into the scenario that the reason it's caused this is one, like we said, is older, and while the inside looked like it was still structurally capable of handling for a few more years, once we started driving the heavy equipment on it, we indicated some weaknesses, and we had a few partial collapses in some locations. And then additionally, as we started digging in engineering, what we called offloading, so your pipe is buried, it has the soil around it. Well, that carries some of the weight of the equipment and the road and keeps that pipe intact. Once we start removing some of that soil and dirt off of it, now that part of that structure that was holding that pipe together has now come off, and we saw some exterior deterioration on that pipe, indicating that we need to improve this pipe so that we can put the road back in. We have grave concerns of being able to construct the road over it. There is a portion of about 200 feet, about mid-block, that only has about 6 inches of cover before it hits the bottom of the pavement. So essentially we have pavement, aggregate base, and then pipe. We don't feel it would be able to withstand the reconstruction of the roadway in its current condition.
Is there an inclusion in this $586,000 for any point repairs that need to be made to accept the slip lining? That you may have found that 50 feet of that pipe won't accept slip lining because the integrity of the hose pipe is no longer structurally sound to do the slip lining? Or is that something we're going to incur a new cost added to this 586?
So that cost is inclusive to the prep work that's included. So they would be cleaning it in order to get this lining done. We've already gone through the design process. But they'll be in the process of flushing that sewer, cleaning it, and you have to get exact measurements because all these pipe linings are actually, for the most part, designed to the pipe as it stands existing. They do exact measurements, they construct the lining to that type diameter. For the most part, linings can bridge structural weakness. So as long as the pipe is not disjointed, where they cannot actually physically get the liner through, or if there's no protrusions, typically your laterals from homes will come in, and if they protrude too far into the pipe, we got to cut those off. In terms of if there's small breakage or cracks or those sort of things, the lining is self-sufficient in that manner, where once we inflate it and get it down, and you start baking it, it will take the structure off, and we can actually bridge small openings. So we've abandoned part of this process that's included in the plans, was relocation of existing service laterals to accommodate the storm sewer. And so we've had to move them on the pipe. We were able to do it very strategically and surgically. The contractor's done a great job. And then we have the hole above, and we're just abandoning it with that pipe there, so that with this lining would be completely disconnected.
Well, I'm just wondering, like I said, if we encounter a section of existing pipe that isn't structurally sound enough for the host, or for the slip lining, I mean, you can come across, as you're doing the project, 20, 30 feet of pipe that just collapses. Is there an additional cost, or is that going to be included so they can continue in this 586? Or is there going to be a per foot extra?
To answer your question, yes and no. We do have some unit prices already in our bid to anticipate, in the original bid, to anticipate some repairs. Currently, we've kind of have some very good knowledge because you can see the pipe. We do have 2 locations where we've had slight collapse, but we don't anticipate a repair needed in order to line. So once we line, we will probably coat the top with some hydraulic cement just to fill in that void. And so if we do find something, we do have our original bid that has those unit prices. This 586 is also inclusive of some other work that's associated with the project. We're just bringing all the things that we know to date into one change order instead of in that way it's done. So I think in this change order, there's 4 additional T&M, small T&Ms, a few $1,000s. And then there is also the inclusion of, we had very favorable bid prices for the sidewalk. I think it's total like around $5 a square foot. So and with this project, we've now included all sidewalk within the project limits so that all sidewalks can be replaced, which was about a $36,000 add to the contract. But now all sidewalk on Monterey will be replaced. We won't have pieces of old sidewalk with new sidewalk and the bid prices. So that 586 is inclusive of all that. The lining is near like $455,000, but it is inclusive of all the work to get the lining in. I'm including like the bypass pumping and all in that per that linear foot. But if there's any greater point repairs, we do have unit contract or contract bid items that we could utilize to perform that work that's already included.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kumar.
Well, the lining that you're putting in, what is the longevity of the lining? What do you expect?
So the longevity so far, what they're predicting is the same as any PVC pipe. So it has a life of at least 50 years.
Okay.
Like I said, in the engineering or the public works side, utility side, it's a newer technology that the first kind of linings are nearing the age of 50 years. So in the field testing, as we do, there's several pieces out there but they show no stress. They don't show like any denigration. They're shown to be very effective. And in the laboratories, it's the same as like a PVC pipe that you would buy brand new and put in the ground. I should point out, we did evaluate some concrete pipe to be replaced for point repairs. If that would be substantial, we did look at just replacing with PVC piping. I believe right now, the price that they came back, in order to get the type of pipe needed due to that minimum depth, concrete piping was over $450 a square foot, or $450 a foot, where we're paying $350 here, and PVC piping, just the piping alone, was near $700 a foot right now. So this gets it done quickly. We were able to maintain the construction schedule, so we're not delaying the reconstruction of the roadway, and we're able to utilize the existing infrastructure and maintain it at less of a cost of a new pipe.
To piggyback off that, so you get about 50 years anyway. If we are changing the road again, do you anticipate having to put PVC pipe, or this is just the way to go from now on?
Me personally, I think there's a huge benefit, in lining piping, line pipes, especially these clay pipes, is that you don't have to dig up in the existing in the future. Like in this one, capacity is not an issue because now we're separating stormwater off. The pipe's going to be way oversized in the future once we get it completely separated. I would say in this scenario, if we ever go redig the road, we would probably look at right-sizing the sewer to downsize the sewer, but we cannot do it in this scenario because we still have other segments all utilizing this combination sewer, so we got to maintain it in this scenario.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes, can we give some input to the residents from either the finance director or the village manager on their perspective to the impact of the budget or impacting this, increasing the budget on this project by $586,000?
So we're gonna, the funds will be found out of the, basically out of the reserves and the existing capital improvement sales tax that's what we call the utility sales tax. That's where most of this project has been coming from. Correct me if I'm wrong for this.
Correct. This project's utilizing a multitude of funding, so we do have the IEPA loan that was approved, which was for some of the separation, and then what we do historically is we don't fund the whole project with the loan. We fund a lot of the separation project with the loan. So we'll be utilizing probably a little bit of the reserves out of the wastewater fund account. And what we're looking at is the possibility of the impact would be is we might have to delay a project that's not fully funded yet to recoup some of that funding in the wastewater fund. So at the end of the day, what might occur is we would have to push another project out a little bit to recoup some of that funding that we have to utilize for this project.
That won't be my street, will it?
Well, if we don't do this, we can't get, to be honest, we can't get to your street if we don't do this portion, because you're all tied down into this sewer.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Clerk Konecki. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Stalella.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Casone.
Yes. Okay, move on to item 9, public comments on non-agenda items. Clerk Konecki, anyone signed up?
I had nobody,
Okay.
but I think Reed, yes.
Yes, I believe we have someone that's
Waving.
waving to us.
It was a couple meetings ago, 4 or 5 weeks, as the case may be, that I expressed my concern that it looked like, Hawthorne was having their way up in this development area, since clearly doesn't look like anything had been done. And I think I gave a few examples. Well, and my name is Reed Goodrich for the record. Pardon me. And it still doesn't look like anything has been done. I've got wires laying around, the property. I think there's some construction material up there. And, one other thing I've noticed is they've put maple trees up in the parking lot, which are 8 feet from the ComEd power lines. And ComEd gets a 5-foot easement. So in a couple of years, well, it may look cute and finished now. When Asplin goes through there on ComEd's behalf, you'll be lucky if you're just not left with stumps by the time they're done. So, my initial statement was that, looks like Hawthorne's having their way, and at this point, 4 weeks later, I don't see any differences, so I stand by that statement unless somebody can, tell me different. Nobody's talked to me. Nobody said anything. Oh, we're doing this. We're getting our hands around it. So looks like same old, same old.
Okay, thanks, Reed. Okay, we're going to move to item 10, Village Commission reports, and we'll just read all of them and approve them all at once. These are our Village Commission reports. Item 10A, Environmental Concerns Commission. It's the approval of the Environmental Concerns Commission Subcommittee Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Minutes from December 15th, 2022, and Environmental Concern Commission's meeting minutes from January 26th, 2023. Approval of minutes from the November 3rd, 2022 Historical Preservation Commission meeting. Approval of the minutes from the December 27th, 2022 Community Pride Commission, the Fun Commission. Approval of the Cable Commission minutes from December 14th, 2022. Red line of proposed name change and ordinance modifications regarding the Cable Commission. Item 10E, the Parks and Rec. Approval of the January 10th, 2023 Parks and Recreation Commission meetings, and the approval of the January 18th, 2023 Economic Development Commission minutes. Do we have a motion for the commission reports?
I'll make that
Trustee Corkery, we have a second. Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, question or comments on the commission minutes? Trustee Kozar?
We're just approving that we've seen them?
Correct, that we read through them.
It's basically an acceptance of the reports as opposed to an approval because the commissions themselves actually approve their minutes.
Thank you. Okay, Clerk Konecki.
Okay, so President Kazone, this is accepting as presented is what the roll call is for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Salela?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, item 11, the village clerk's report.
Just one item, just kind of a heads up for the seniors who attend the SALT meeting. Next month, the meeting will be at the Iowa Community Center, and it will be on a different day. It's not going to be on a Wednesday anymore, it's on a Tuesday, and actually the third Tuesday, I believe, March 21st. So they will get a letter from the police department as normal, so everybody on the mailing list will know the new location. It's also been posted in the, I believe, the Senior Sun or whatever that is that Parks and Rec puts out for their, that they mail out. So it's being advertised, but just kind of a heads up for people who normally would go to the recreation building over there on Wildwood. It is now the Iowa Community Center, and it'll be on a Tuesday in March. So that's all, just a heads up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 12, the village trustees report, and we'll start at my left. Trustee Kumar.
Not much today, except that, remember, you can register to vote starting March 2nd. So if you're interested in voting, please get registered. If you're not registered, have moved into town recently, or have turned 18 recently, which is my daughter, and therefore I'm just shouting out a reminder for everybody to register. So thank you, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corkery.
No report this week.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I've got coffee with the board on the calendar for Saturday, March the 4th at 9 a.m. here at the Village Hall. And I have also on my calendar that we will be having a senior lunch. That's a monthly birthday bingo lunch. Again, we've moved that over to Iowa Center, and that's typically around noon. And that will be on Thursday, March the 9th. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I would like to give a shout out to Elmhurst University's Professor Scott Brom and his Poll 202 state and local government class who are watching online right now from home, who are conducting research and doing a project on local municipalities and how they conduct and hold public meetings, and they are using this meeting as one of their references. So shout out to Poll 202 and Professor Scott Brom. Second of all, the Villa Park Cable Commission, you'll soon be seeing some new programming coming out from them, especially regarding the new LRS project, providing some public information on some of the processes that are going to be rolled out and some public education just to learn about the new programs here that Villa Park is undertaking. There is one vacancy open on the Cable Commission as a commissioner. If you are interested in joining the commission or any other of the commissions or committees in Villa Park, please visit invillapark.com and navigate to commissions and committees and fill out the application there. It'll go directly to our village president for approval with that. Third, I was asked to read an email that was sent to me from Joe Amori from the Environmental Concerns Commission regarding the recent events in East Palestine, Ohio, and the railroad incident that happened there. Greetings to all. I serve as Commissioner on the Environmental Concerns Commission for the Village of Villa Park and spoke last Thursday of the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. I hope to speak to the entire board tonight, but illness prevented me from doing so. I retired as a freight conductor for almost 40 years and saw many changes in the industry. Most of the changes were driven by trying to do more with less personnel to increase profits, leaving those remaining feeling pressed to get the train on its way, including the car inspections at the 1,000-mile inspection points. With the increased hauling of hazardous commodities, the focus has been on hardening the containers with no apparent attention paid to the wheels of each car, usually 8 per car. The preliminary reporting showed a failed wheel bearing causing the derailment. The fact that we have 2 major railroads bisecting the town demands that our first responders be properly trained and know what to do should it happen here. In these situations, you only have one opportunity to get it right, for their safety and ours. We should also prepare to know the needs to be done should there be a release into Salt Creek or a vapor cloud in the surrounding neighborhoods. I count on the board, manager, and chiefs to ensure the first responder training is current and up to date. And since we cannot rely on the railroads to protect our community, this is from Joe Amori, the Environmental Concerns Commission. With that being said, I would like to bring that incident to the attention of the village and hope that everybody understands the seriousness of what is happening there in Ohio and the potential for something like that to actually happen right here in Villa Park. I'd like to see the village take a proactive approach for planning and addressing railroad safety regarding an event like this ever happening here in Villa Park. So it doesn't have to be tonight, but I would really like to see what our response to an incident like that would be, and how we could be more proactive rather than reactive to an event like that. Lastly, I want to congratulate our newest fire chief to the village. Outstanding hire, I believe. We've got an excellent group of people in the department here, both in our police and our fire departments. And I've said it before in the past, I believe that both of our departments are the best in the state of Illinois. So thank you for all that you do, and congratulations on the new position. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
I want to say what a nice event that Candace Kretler and Michelle Hoffman put on for the Cocoa Crawl there with the library. It was just an awesome event. I drove around town. People were walking around. Families were walking around. It was well attended. Candace and Michelle kind of knew just what everybody was looking for, and I don't know how they picked such a perfect day, but whatever connections they have for the weather, pretty good too. But they put on a great event, and I'd love to see more stuff like that coming down the pike. So good job, Candace, good job, Michelle, and your team. Thanks for putting that on. And then second, if we could address some of Reed's questions about what's going on with Ecoterra, the development over at the train station. I've taken a number of questions about that, and I drive by there all the time. So, yeah, if we could get some answers or some input on that.
Yeah, I think the village manager will, in his report, will bring that up, yeah. Okay. Trustee Salala.
No report this evening.
Okay, we'll move on to the president's report.
President Kazone, can I just say one thing?
No.
Ouch.
You could.
I didn't announce, but Relay for Life, which is for cancer survivors, is taking place at Willowbrook High School on Saturday, starting at 6 p.m. So I would like to make an announcement. It was a very nice occasion last time I attended. And so for those of you who are cancer survivors and or want to support cancer survivors, please attend that
Great.
occasion.
Thank you. Yeah, they do a great job with that every year. Yeah, thank you. My report, last Saturday, the 18th, I met with the DuPage Managers and Mayors Commission. We met with Congressman Sean Caston, who was our congressman, Raj Krishnamurthy, who was our old representative, and Delilah Ramirez. They met with the surrounding towns, the mayors and managers, and we had a very good meeting with everyone. They understand the difficulties that towns and villages have, especially with state and federal mandates that are unfunded. So it was a very good meeting. And then this past Friday, Manager Harline, Assistant Manager McVeigh, and Director Guerrera and I met with Sean Caston personally at Highview Restaurant, and we had, again, a very good meeting. We talked grade separation, which is, we are starting our, the study on that. Director Guerrero brought up about lead services, and again, another unfunded mandate that we have to pay for, and then also the difficulty we're having getting police and fire personnel. But it was a very good meeting, and we've already gotten a response on one of the questions that was brought up with Congressman Caston from his staff, so it was a very good meeting. And finally, at one of the meetings, I met with Mayor Rich Veenstra from Addison, who thanked the police department for their support with the double shooting that happened a couple weeks ago in Addison. I think Lombard responded, I think Bensonville may have responded too, but he's appreciative of all the help and the assistance that the surrounding towns give to each other, and with police and fire. I know tonight I was talking to Chief Stapleton and a couple of his men about that, we've got a very good system around here with a lot of good mutual aid and a lot of assistance with our surrounding towns, so thank you. Okay, and we'll move to the village manager's report.
So I've got 4 items. First is going to be Finance Director's report. Then I'm going to ask Patrick Burke to do a report update on Ecoterra. And then I got a couple other things that I wanted to get after that. But let's start with the Finance Director's report. Chuck Howard, our Finance Director. And he's promised me we'll have numbers.
We will have numbers, and I know how everybody likes numbers, so I certainly do. Just some notes here for January performance. Again, we are under audit, so those numbers always do change. I always start out talking about overall cash. Overall cash compared January to January of last year, down about $3 million. And in the aggregate, there are a number of things that kind of move it around. One, we had the TIF funds that we returned to the local participating agencies with us on TIF 2, so that's about $2.4 million. We completed a lot of projects in 2022, about $15 million from what I see. That's going to lower cash as we compare January to January. We also have the amount of money that we're holding from bond proceeds that we've not yet spent in the rec center. So cash is a thing that you can compare, but it's not always good to look at a comparison when you're an active community. We have about 133 days of expenses covered in the general fund, about 127 across all village funds. Again, this is kind of a lull for us because we're not in our tax collection cycle, and if you're used to seeing a lot more days, then that's going to happen as we get into the spring and summer and fall with those types of things. As far as again, with those funds that are showing negative cash, we will resolve those in our audit process. I didn't update the investment portfolio section in the document you looked at, but only to say that on January 20th, we did invest $250,000 at a rate of about 4.55%. This is an 18th month CD that's going to mature in July of 2024. So rates are getting better, things are getting good in the market, and there's a lot of volatility but we're still seeing some positive things happen. Unadjusted month of January general fund revenues are about 5% below the comparative January. Expenditures are about 7% above last year. Sales tax revenues up 13%. Video gaming and use tax are both gaming and use taxes are up about 17%, and transfers from the state for income tax are about 9.2% higher than the January last year. It's offset by a little bit by the utility tax collections, which is kind of a timing thing because we received some funds from NICOR that we received and posted in February, so that really kind of explains that. Ambulance fees are almost doubled, about 99% higher than the January, but it's offset again in February with the collections or with the cost-sharing agreement we have in the GEMT program, where we, for Medicare, must remit half that money back that we collected under Medicare. So, yeah, it looks good, but it really is, again, a timing thing. General fund actual revenues through January are about 7% of the 2023 new budget, and expenditures are about 8%, with about 8.3% of the fiscal year passed. So we're tracking pretty good there. Tax revenue remains steady from last January, comparatively about down 1%, and prior budget year maybe 7%. So we're about where we should be. Rec revenue year-to-date about 41% higher. Again, rec revenues are getting back there. Expenses, of course, are increasing, in that same vein, about 35%. The estimated fund balance for rec is about $29,000. For January, actual rec expenditures ended at about 5% of budget. So, they're tracking along. Village-wide revenues are 3% higher than last year. We've got some increases in the capital fund, water and sewer, parks and rec. And again, expenditures are about 11% higher than the comparative year. Net revenues over expenditures for January are about $364,000. So a lot of numbers spit at you very quickly, but we're tracking where we should be. And again, this is kind of a lull period for us as we move into the year and audit goes on.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any questions, any comments?
Thank you.
No. Good. Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Great. And I've asked Patrick Burke to give an update on Ecoterra. We had hoped to have Dr. Vish attend the meeting tonight. He was not able to make tonight's meeting. We were hoping to get him in March. Staff would have nothing would make us happier than to give you a extremely rosy picture of what's going on in Ecoterra. But what Mr. Goodrich says is what everybody recognizes is that they are not building and they're behind on their promises, and that we are continuing to pressure them to get moving. They are facing some pressures and problems with financing that are, or I should say not financing as so much finances of moving forward with the cost increases that others have seen. I know that there are some businesses like Arrow and Casey's that have been able to push forward through that. It's a little bit of a different project and a little bit different of the amount of their total portfolio. This project is a bigger part of their portfolio than the Casey's store is of Casey's Casey's national organization. But with that lead in, I'll let if I haven't said everything you're going to say, but if you give us an update on what we're seeing at Ecoterra.
Sure. Good evening. So Ecoterra is the project adjacent to the train station. The things that have occurred so far is on the building site. They have demolished the entire block, and they have relocated all of the utilities. But the project has stalled. And the issues they've told us is that the cost of the building materials have increased, and then also interest rates have risen. And so for the last couple of months, they've been trying to obtain additional financing. They have made more progress on the parking lot. They're about 90% complete on that. and they said they'll complete that this spring. We have asked Hawthorne to attend this meeting to update the board. The principal was unavailable today, and we have urged them to appear either March 13th or March 27th. They have yet to commit to that.
Just Patrick.
What are our options as a village if this continues to stall? And what type of time frame are we looking at, and what can we as a village do?
There is a redevelopment agreement and an amendment to the redevelopment agreement. They're currently in breach of the redevelopment agreement. Our options are, in terms of the increment generated, we don't have to make those payments. One of the issues, though, is with the parking lot. We want them to convey that to us before we start enforcing the redevelopment agreement. It'll become much more difficult to get that parking lot from them. And so, we're hoping that they'll finish, the parking lot this spring, but, if they don't, there are ways that we can force them to convey it to us. That's part of the amendment to the RDA. And so we can start enforcing the mechanisms in the redevelopment agreement.
Yeah, really be nice to have them here next month. Really good, put some pressure on them.
Trying.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
President Cohen. Yep, Trustee Kozar.
You mentioned the parking lot. As I recall, we were doing like an exchange. We were giving them some property, and they were giving us some property. So maybe I'm unclear. Did we give them some property and then they didn't give us some property?
So if you remember the Metro parking lot west of Beverly, and then there was also a vacant parcel,
Right.
that was village-owned. We conveyed that to them at closing, which was, I believe, September 30th, 2021, in exchange for where they're currently building the new parking lot. And that's included in that was actually one of the reasons for the amendment to the redevelopment agreement. Because originally they were supposed to convey a completed parking lot at closing, and they were unable to do that. So we amended the redevelopment agreement to give them more time to complete the parking lot and convey it to us.
Sounds like we were getting screwed on that one.
Well, it's actually, we're getting more parking spaces than what we had.
Assuming we get the parking lot, right?
We do have a performance bond,
How much is that performance bond?
$225,000.
And how would that work to get us the parking lot? Like,
Yeah.
what's the mechanics of that?
We would have to notice the insurance company that holds it, and then, we would start drawing down on that bond to complete the remaining elements of the parking lot.
To continue creating the parking lot, and then once it's created, then it would automatically be deeded to us? Like, how do we utilize the 225 to obtain the parking lot, to have it deeded to us?
So there's still some remaining elements. The apron on Beverly, still has to be completed. There's some minor elements that still have to be done. And then it states in the amendment to the redevelopment agreement that they're to convey the parking lot to us, and it was actually by June 30th of 2022. So they're, that's one of the breaches in the agreements.
Okay, so they were supposed to convey it to us by June 30th of 2022.
Yes.
And they didn't do that, and they haven't completed it yet. So in theory, we've got an insurance claim of $225,000 that we can use to complete the parking lot, and then whatever legal mechanism we have to do to get them to convey that to us.
Yes.
Right, all for $225.
Yes.
Do we have other bonds associated with this project?
I don't know if there's public utility bonds.
There's still a few remaining. To answer your question, Trustee Kozar, as part of the demolition, they had to disconnect utilities. We are still holding some of those right-of-way bonds that required as part of the demolition for the right-of-way, so that we can have some money to fix the patches or any of those scenarios of the disconnections of the utilities. We still have 6,000, I want to say around 6,000 in right-of-way bonds that were associated with the demolitions.
But you said they did relocate the utilities.
They've disconnected the utilities for the demolitions.
Okay, so they've disconnected them, and we've got $6,000 worth of insurance bond money that we can use to
That
Patch those up,
$6,000 is
or-
a cash bond, so we have that cash in our accounts.
Okay.
The 225 is a performance bond that we hold in our name from the insurance company.
And then do we have any sort of assurance or bond to, if they decide to just walk away, to make it look like, to level the ground and clean it up over there?
That becomes a code enforcement issue, and, you know, we would address it as such. And they'd be required, you know, to grade it out, remove, you know, the construction fence. You know, it hasn't been an active construction site for months, and it doesn't look like it will be for months. So, I mean, we'll begin to look at it as a code enforcement nuisance.
So through code enforcement, we would cite them and then fine them ultimately?
Yes.
And then if they didn't pay those fines, we would escalate those and ultimately put a lien on the property?
Yeah, it would.
About that it would go?
It would go to adjudication.
Yeah, I think that would be similar to somebody that wasn't taking care of their yard, and we would cut the grass or go in there and clean up and then lien the property, which may be something we could push on him. Which
So we've got an example of that on, is it Oakland or that, not a couple blocks from where I live, and that's been going on for years, right? So the same time frame would probably apply to Hawthorne or
I think
Ecoterra.
that's a little different, though, because that was a construction issue. It's the house, something that's had the hole in the roof. Yeah, I mean, that was threatening to tear it down, and then he came back and went to court, I believe. I don't know, you would know more.
I'm unfamiliar with
It's
that.
Mark. Yeah, Mark would probably know on that, but I think on this, that could be a threat to them, is go in there, we grade it down ourselves and lien the property. But hopefully it won't get to that.
So is one of the lessons that we're learning here that we need a larger performance bond for other elements of any new projects that are coming into town? So that somebody doesn't come in, tear things up and then walk away, and then we're stuck looking at it, you know, living with it? Like, how do we prevent this in the future? We've got a performance bond for the parking lot, whether or not we can do it for 2.25. In future projects, do we need performance bonds for the actual construction of, you know, higher, $500,000 bond, $1 million bond, to prevent people from starting a project and not finishing it?
Well, I mean, the good news is this site is now development ready. They've done quite a bit of the prep work. In terms of like a $500,000 bond, what would that do?
So hindsight being what it is, it would be nice if we had a performance bond so that we would have, instead of having to work through code enforcement, we could come in and say, you haven't hit a benchmark, you're not doing anything, you've removed all your equipment, we're gonna come in, we're gonna level the ground, we're gonna hook up the utilities, we're gonna finish that project off, we're gonna make it look so at least at minimum, we'll remove the construction fence and have it look like a flat piece of land rather than a hazardous construction site. And we would actually have the money to do it, rather than fronting the money, going after them through code enforcement, putting a lien on their property, and ultimately, trying to foreclose upon the lien if they don't cooperate with us. And that would be the effect of the bond. So to answer your question, that would be the benefit of a larger performance bond on the project itself. And is that one of the lessons that we're learning here for future projects coming along?
We could negotiate that in future RDAs.
Is there a performance bond in the actual construction, or is it just on the parking lot?
Parking lot.
Just on the parking lot? Yeah. Okay.
And there are laws related to performance bonds, and so whatever level you could go to under the compliance with the performance bond acts, you could evaluate that. Another component of redevelopment agreements is sometimes a reverter of the property. I know this redevelopment agreement doesn't have that provision in there, and that may relate to the fact that there was other property, not just the villages, that was sold. But that's another mechanism to enforce the redevelopment agreement. If there is a failure to develop within a certain time period, the property can revert back to the municipality.
Great, those are good tools. Now, you mentioned incremental payments. That's through the TIF.
Correct.
Right? And you said because of their failure or their breach, we don't have to make those incremental payments.
Correct.
Right? Can you explain to me what those incremental payments are or would be, or what we're not doing as a result?
According to the redevelopment agreement, they're entitled to 70% of any incremental property tax generated.
And that would be as the tax for that parcel goes up, they get 70% of that back.
Correct.
But right now, it's just an empty lot, so presumably, really, that hasn't inflated much on the tax rolls.
No, last year was very little.
Okay. And until they actually build something and have some sort of occupancy, it probably isn't going to be worth more, so not making incremental payments really isn't all that much, right?
No.
Okay.
And actually, that's what, it would behoove them to get this thing going, because as the TIF gets older and older, they're going to have less time to get that incremental back. So I don't know, how many years are left on that?
2037.
Okay. So every year that, or every month that they don't put anything in there, it's hurting them.
We got about 14 years to go.
Okay.
Well, let's hope that we can get the principal of the company out here and see what his plan moving forward is and how we can all work together to, number one, make that property look better, and number two, get him back on track or find somebody else. I've heard it thrown out there, the idea, and perhaps this is worth looking into. You had somebody who gave us a presentation just a meeting or two ago looking to develop that train station, and I think they were large on ambition, small on property to do what they wanted to do. Perhaps with that property there could be something that could be worked out, or at least a conversation, starting a dialogue between that company who wants to build and has financing to build and the EcoTerra property, which is at a standstill.
Okay. Trustee Kumar?
You said the parking lot was what, it's almost complete, 90% complete, just a few things left. Now, the 250,000, will it complete the rest?
Yes.
It would be enough to complete the whole thing.
Okay. Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
Yeah, I had a couple of things. I was anticipating a request to, I think we had a request from the Cable TV Commission to draft an ordinance to follow up on they are looking to change their name and a little bit of their direction. And the reason being, and owing to the length of the meeting already, basically Cable TV is only a part of what we do in terms of getting our message out. It's more and more online. I don't mean to steal your thunder. I know, is it?
No, I can comment to that. If you look at the name Cable television. I believe it's kind of phasing out now. A lot more people are cutting the cable and streaming and using internet to get their services that way. So the Cable Commission is looking to kind of revamp the name. And then also kind of change the direction. We do utilize both the two TV channels that we do have, AT&T UVerse Channel 99 and Comcast Channel 6. But then again, there's not that many people that actually view those channels, and they are phasing out. So we're looking to be more modern and come up with streaming platforms and be able to provide that content at easier access to our residents.
Yep, and the other thing about it is, I don't know about you, but most people don't watch TV in a linear chronological order like they do. I mean, 7 o'clock on Thursday nights was whatever, Friends and Cheers or whatever, and that's when you watched it. That it's not like that anymore. And the videos that we're going to try and develop to explain LRS, the program that's going, and other things related to solid waste management and all the stuff that Al Stash and his crew is doing. The ability to have that more on demand is the future. And they actually presented some pretty good demographic data about that. So with that, go ahead and turn that into an ordinance and bring it back unless there's an objection by the. Okay, I think that. And then also, I would be happy if you guys would give us a direction in terms. You mentioned WellQuest. The staff is looking for direction to meet further with them to pursue what options we have, and also authorize me to spend money to, or at least bring back a resolution to pay for appraisal of that lot. We can't sell it without an appraisal. We'll need to do an appraisal of the land that they're looking to purchase. So for that conversation to really go any further, I really looking for direction from the elected officials from the board. I think that was the impression that I got, that maybe we want to at least entertain and move forward on discussion. Not saying that we're ready to sell, not saying that we love the proposal as presented the other night, but it's out there and it's, to move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's a COW topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
President Casone,
Yes.
Manager, if you could state exactly what you're referring to for the minutes. I know you spoke kind of generally. Can you give me exact name of something?
The WellQuest proposal
that's what I
to
need to
purchase
hear.
land
Okay.
at the metro station.
Right, okay, that's what you're referring to. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kumar.
Yeah, I think maybe the next COW meeting, we should address both this WellQuest and maybe also the update on EcoTerra, if they're coming back in kind of that area, the whole development of that corner a little bit, in one way or form, as to make some kind of strategy as to get the area developed and moving forward rather than at a standstill.
Okay. Yep. Just Kozar.
Off of what Deepa just said, I'd like to make a motion that for our next COW meeting, EcoTerra and WellCrest are on that agenda, please.
So just because it's not on the agenda, why don't we just have a consensus on those issues so that the manager has the appropriate direction as opposed to an official action at this time by the board?
Sure.
Okay. Clerk Konecki, can you have a vote of consensus to have EcoTerra and WellQuest on the next COW agenda?
Okay. Okay, Trustee Solello?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Casone?
Yes. Okay, so we'll discuss that and get that in the next COW.
Okay. All right, and then the last thing I want to say is just my heart goes out to everybody of the city of the village of Westmont for the recent tragedy, and just a reminder that although we know that the fire and police go out every day and risk their lives, Public Works and other employees in the village also do dangerous work, and one of the things that Michael Guerra has been working already long before this recent tragedy of the young man who lost his life in a water main break, is looking at doing regular safety sessions, something that's important to us, shows the value that we have in all of our residents, and if we can, not saying that there are some things done wrong in Westmont, but if we can learn more and avoid such tragic events, it's well worth every bit of time and effort we put into it. So my heart goes out to everyone, rescuers and those involved in the events in Westmont this last week.
Thank you. Okay, we have, item 15, we have nothing for executive session, so if we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, we have a second. Trustee Kumar? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will see you all on March 13th. Have a great next couple of weeks, and we'll see you 2 weeks.